Bugatti want £20,000 to service my Bugatti Veyron. Today, we're going to do it for a lot cheaper.
At what point does the brand step in and go, right, we're opening a lawsuit against you and I don't want it to ever become like corporate?
Matt Armstrong has become one of the most recognizable names in the automotive world. And much of that reputation comes from his willingness to take on projects that most people would consider impossible. Over the past few years, millions of viewers have watched him buy damaged supercars, rebuild them from the ground up, and prove that many repairs thought to be impossible can actually be completed with enough determination, knowledge, and creativity. However, among all the cars that have appeared on his channel, none have captured the attention of fans quite like the Bugattis. These cars are not just expensive machines. They represent some of the most exclusive, complex, and respected vehicles ever built. When Matt Armstrong began working on a Bugatti Veyron and later became involved in rebuilding Alex Gonzalez's Bugatti Chiron Per Sport, the projects quickly became some of the biggest stories in automotive content. Millions of people followed every update, every challenge, every setback, and every success. As the rebuilds progressed, many viewers began asking an interesting question. Once these cars are finished, what happens next? Will Matt sell them? Will he move on to another project? Or will these Bugattis remain a permanent part of his story? At first glance, the answer might seem simple. Most car enthusiasts buy and sell vehicles all the time. Even collectors with massive garages often rotate their collections. Cars come in, cars go out, and the process repeats. Yet Matt Armstrong's situation appears very different. The deeper people look into these projects, the more they realize that these Bugattis are not ordinary cars in his collection. They have become symbols of his journey, proof of his skills, and some of the most important vehicles he has ever worked on. The Bugatti Veyron alone represents a major achievement. When Matt purchased a car from a repossession sale, many people questioned whether bringing it back to life would be worth the effort. Bugattis are famous for their incredibly high maintenance costs. Even routine servicing can cost tens of thousands of pounds. Some repairs can cost more than an entire luxury car. Yet Matt approached the project differently. Instead of simply accepting the traditional way of doing things, he investigated alternatives, searched for compatible parts, and documented every step of the process. As a result, he showed viewers that some of the costs associated with owning a Bugatti may not be as unavoidable as many people previously believed. The project attracted enormous attention because it challenged assumptions that had existed for years. Then there's a Chiron Per Sport owned by Alex Gonzalez. Unlike the Veyron, this Bugatti does not belong to Matt. However, his involvement in rebuilding the car has made him closely connected to one of the most famous hypercar restoration stories ever shared online. The Chiron suffered major damage, and many people believe the car would never return to the road. Watching Matt and his team slowly bring it back to life created one of the most compelling automotive stories on YouTube. Every update generated excitement because viewers wanted to know whether the seemingly impossible task could actually be completed. Together, these two Bugattis have become much more than vehicles. They have become chapters in a larger story about determination, innovation, and the refusal to give up when faced with enormous challenges. That is why the question of whether Matt will ever let them go has become so fascinating. To understand the answer, it is important to look beyond simple market values and ownership documents. The real reasons involve money, personal identity, relationships, long-term strategy, and something even deeper that connects directly to how Matt sees his own journey. Once those factors are understood, the idea of selling these Bugattis begins to look far less likely than many people imagine. One of the biggest reasons many people believe Matt Armstrong will never sell his Bugatti Veyron is the simple fact that the car has become far more valuable than a normal Veyron. When most people think about a car's value, they look at market prices. They compare similar vehicles, check auction results, and estimate what a buyer might pay. Under normal circumstances, that method makes perfect sense. However, the Bugatti Veyron sitting in Matt Armstrong's garage is no longer a normal Veyron. It has become one of the most documented Bugattis in the world. And that creates a completely different type of value. When Matt purchased a car through a repossession sale, many people focus on the purchase price. They saw an opportunity to buy one of the world's most famous hypercars for significantly less than the usual market value. But the purchase itself was only the beginning of the story. What happened afterward is what truly transformed the car. Instead of quietly repairing it behind closed doors, Matt documented nearly every stage of the process. Millions of viewers watched him investigate problems, search for solutions, compare parts, and challenge assumptions that many owners had simply accepted for years. Every repair became content. Every challenge became a lesson. Every success became another chapter in a story that viewers felt connected to. As a result, the Veyron gained something that most cars never receive. It gained a public history. Most Bugattis are known only to their owners, dealerships, and service centers. Their stories remain private. Matt's Bugatti is different. People know where it came from. They know what condition it was in. They know what parts were replaced and what obstacles had to be overcome. They have watched the entire journey unfold in real time. This level of documentation creates a special connection between the vehicle and the audience. To many viewers, the car is not simply a Bugatti anymore. It is Matt Armstrong's Bugatti. That distinction may sound small, but in reality, it can be incredibly important. Throughout automotive history, cars connected to famous people, significant events, or unique stories have often sold for far more than standard examples. Collectors are not always buying a machine. Sometimes they are buying a story. They are buying history. They are buying something that stands out from every other example of the same model. Matt's Veyron now belongs in that category. Its story has become almost as important as the car itself. Another factor is the influence the project has had on public perception. For years, Bugatti ownership was often associated with enormous maintenance bills and limited repair options. Many owners believed they had little choice but to rely entirely on official service centers. Matt's project challenged that idea. By researching alternative solutions and cross-referencing parts, he showed viewers that some repairs could be approached differently, whether people agree with every decision or not. The fact remains that the project sparked discussions throughout the automotive community. It became more than a rebuild. It became a conversation about ownership, repair rights, and automotive engineering. That cultural impact adds another layer of value. If Matt sold the Veyron tomorrow, he would receive a large amount of money. Few people would question that. However, by keeping it, he may benefit from something even greater. The car continues to generate interest, attract viewers, and strengthen his reputation. Every future appearance of the Veyron on the channel becomes part of an ongoing story that millions of people already care about. In that sense, the car functions as both an asset and a symbol. Financially, emotionally, and strategically, it represents years of effort and one of the most important achievements of his career. That is why the investment argument goes far beyond simple numbers. The Veyron is no longer just a vehicle with a market price attached to it. It has become a piece of automotive content history, and that makes the decision to sell far more complicated than many people realize. While the Bugatti Veyron represents a major achievement for Matt Armstrong personally, the Bugatti Chiron Purse Sport connected to Alex Gonzalez tells a completely different story. Unlike the Veyron, this car does not belong to Matt. From a legal standpoint, the situation is very simple. Alex Gonzalez is the owner, and Matt is the person responsible for helping bring the damaged hypercar back to life. Because of that, some people immediately assume that Matt has no long-term connection to the vehicle once the project is complete. However, anyone who has followed the rebuild closely understands that the reality is much more complicated. Over time, the Chiron project has evolved into something much larger than a standard customer repair. It has become one of the most watched automotive rebuild stories ever uploaded to YouTube. Millions of viewers have followed every stage of the process, from the moment the damaged car appeared on screen to the countless challenges involved in restoring one of the world's most advanced hypercars. Each episode created anticipation because viewers genuinely wanted to know whether the impossible could be achieved. In many ways, the Chiron became a central part of Matt Armstrong's content strategy. Not because he owned it, but because the story surrounding it was so compelling. Every major update attracted huge audiences. Every breakthrough generated excitement. Every obstacle created suspense. As a result, Matt became closely connected to the car even though his name is not listed on its ownership papers. This connection matters because content creators do not simply build businesses around physical products. They build businesses around stories. The Chiron rebuild became one of the biggest stories Matt had ever told. Walking away from it before the journey is fully complete would mean abandoning a narrative that has played a significant role in growing his audience and strengthening his brand. For many viewers, the Chiron is now associated with Matt just as much as it is associated with Alex Gonzalez. Another important factor is the relationship that developed during the project. Large rebuilds require trust, patience, and cooperation. They also require people to spend significant amounts of time working together toward a shared goal. Over the course of the Chiron restoration, Matt and Alex experienced setbacks, victories, frustrations, and moments of celebration together. Those experiences naturally create strong bonds. When viewers watch their interactions on camera, they often see more than a simple business arrangement. They see two people united by a common objective. That emotional connection adds another layer to the story. The project is no longer just about repairing a car. It is about completing something both men invested enormous amounts of time and energy into achieving. There is also the simple fact that the most exciting moments are still ahead. The final stages of a rebuild often attract the largest audiences. Viewers want to see the completed vehicle. They want to witness the first drive, the final reveal, and the reactions from everyone involved. Those moments represent the payoff after months or even years of anticipation. For Matt, remaining involved until the very end is not just logical from a content perspective. It is almost necessary. The audience expects to see the story completed properly. They have invested their time in following the journey and want to experience the conclusion. This is one reason the Chiron has become so important. Even though Matt does not own the vehicle, the project has become deeply connected to his career. It represents one of the boldest challenges he has ever accepted. It demonstrates the level of work his team is capable of performing. It also proves that projects many people consider impossible can sometimes be completed through persistence, creativity, and determination. Because of all these factors, the Chiron occupies a unique position in Matt Armstrong's story. Ownership may belong to Alex Gonzalez, but the rebuild itself has become part of Matt's legacy. That is why discussions about whether he can simply move on from the project often miss the bigger picture. The car may not belong to him, but the story surrounding it has become one of the most valuable and important chapters of his entire career. Money is often the first thing people discuss when talking about rare and valuable cars. But in Matt Armstrong's case, the reasons for keeping the Bugattis go much deeper than financial considerations. To fully understand why selling them seems unlikely, it is important to understand how closely these vehicles have become connected to his personal identity. For most people, a car is simply a possession. Even for enthusiasts, cars are often bought, enjoyed, and eventually replaced with something new. The process is normal. Interests change, opportunities appear, and collections evolve over time. However, certain vehicles become more than possessions. They become symbols of specific moments in a person's life. They represent achievements, struggles, memories, and milestones. For Matt Armstrong, the Bugatti Veyron and the Chiron project appear to fall into that category. These are not simply expensive cars parked in a garage. They are physical reminders of some of the biggest accomplishments of his career. Before the Bugatti projects, Matt was already a successful automotive content creator. He had rebuilt many impressive vehicles and built a loyal audience. Yet the Bugattis elevated his reputation to an entirely different level. Around the world, people began recognizing him as the individual willing to take on challenges that even major manufacturers seem reluctant to address. When viewers think about Matt Armstrong today, many immediately think about the Bugatti rebuilds. The projects have become one of the defining features of his public image. That kind of connection is powerful because identity is not built only through what people own. It is built through what they accomplish. The Bugattis represent proof of what Matt and his team achieved. Every repaired component, every solved problem, and every successful test drive serves as evidence of the effort invested into these projects. Selling a vehicle like that can feel very different from selling an ordinary car. It is similar to an athlete keeping a championship trophy or a musician holding on to the instrument used to record a career-defining album. The object itself carries meaning that extends far beyond its financial value. The emotional connection becomes even stronger when family is involved. Throughout the Veyron project, viewers repeatedly saw Matt working alongside his father, Tony Armstrong. Their teamwork became one of the most appreciated aspects of the rebuild. People enjoyed watching the combination of experience, practical knowledge, and determination that both men brought to the project. As the series continued, the Bugatti became connected not only to Matt's personal success, but also to memories created with family members. Those memories cannot be assigned a market value. Even if someone offered an enormous amount of money for the car, replacing the experiences attached to it would be impossible. Another reason these Bugattis matter so much is that they symbolize a philosophy Matt has consistently promoted throughout his career. Again and again, he has demonstrated a willingness to challenge assumptions. When people say something cannot be repaired, he investigates further. When repair costs appear unreasonable, he searches for alternatives. When obstacles emerge, he looks for creative solutions. The Bugatti projects became the ultimate demonstration of that mindset. They showed viewers what could happen when someone refuses to accept limitations without first testing them. Because of this, the cars have become symbols of a larger message. They represent persistence, curiosity, and confidence in problem solving. Selling them could feel like giving away a piece of that message. There is also the public perception factor. Millions of people have followed these projects from the beginning. They watched the setbacks and celebrated the victories. Over time, the audience began associating the Bugattis with Matt's personal story. If the cars disappeared from his collection shortly after completion, some viewers might question whether the journey was always intended to lead to a sale. Keeping them reinforces the idea that the projects were driven by passion rather than profit. Whether that perception is completely fair or not, it still matters. Public image plays a significant role in the success of any content creator. Ultimately, the Bugattis have become far more than machines. They represent years of work, family involvement, personal growth, and professional achievement. They tell a story that viewers recognize instantly. That is why selling them would feel very different from selling almost any other car. For Matt Armstrong, these vehicles are not merely transportation. They are part of his identity, and that makes a decision to keep them much easier to understand. One of the most overlooked reasons why the Bugatti projects have become so important to Matt Armstrong involves the relationships that develop throughout the rebuilding process. When viewers watch a YouTube video, they often focus on the cars, the repairs, and the final results. However, behind every major project are people who invest their time, energy, knowledge, and trust to make success possible. Over the course of rebuilding the Veyron and working on Alex Gonzalez's Chiron per Sport, Matt built relationships that transformed these projects from simple automotive repairs into deeply personal journeys. Understanding those relationships helps explain why the Bugattis have become much more than valuable machines. They have become reminders of the people who helped make the impossible possible. One of the most obvious examples is the partnership between Matt and Alex Gonzalez. At the beginning, their connection was based on a shared goal. Alex owned a severely damaged Bugatti Chiron per Sport, and Matt accepted the challenge of helping restore it. On paper, that sounds like a straightforward business arrangement. A customer brings a car, a mechanic repairs it, the project ends. Everyone moves on, but major rebuilds rarely work that way. When people spend months or even years facing challenges together, relationships naturally grow stronger. Every setback requires teamwork. Every breakthrough creates shared excitement. Every successful milestone strengthens trust. Over time, Matt and Alex became more than two people working on the same vehicle. They became partners in one of the most ambitious automotive projects ever documented online. Viewers could see that connection developing through their interactions. There were moments of frustration, moments of uncertainty, and moments of celebration. Those experiences created a bond that extended far beyond a professional agreement. When the Chiron finally began moving closer to completion, the emotional reactions from everyone involved showed how much the project meant to them. The car was no longer just Alex's vehicle. It had become a shared achievement. Equally important is the relationship between Matt and his father, Tony Armstrong. For many viewers, Tony became one of the most beloved figures on the channel. His calm approach, practical knowledge, and willingness to tackle difficult problems made him a key part of the Veyron rebuild. Watching father and son work together added a unique emotional dimension to the series. The project was not simply about fixing a hypercar. It was about two generations combining their skills and experiences to accomplish something extraordinary. Every repaired component represented teamwork. Every challenge overcome became a shared memory. These moments are impossible to replace. If the Bugatti were sold tomorrow, the memories would remain, but the physical reminder of those experiences would be gone. That matters more than many people realize. Cars often become special because of the people connected to them, not because of the metal, carbon fiber, or engineering involved. The Veyron now represents countless hours spent working side by side, solving problems together and proving doubters wrong. There's also the relationship Matt has built with his audience. Millions of people have followed these rebuilds from the beginning. They have invested their time in watching the journey unfold. They celebrated victories and worried during setbacks. In many ways, the audience became part of the experience. Every upload generated discussions, theories, and excitement. Viewers felt connected to cars because they watched the story develop step by step. This connection created a unique relationship between Matt and the people who support his content. The Bugattis became shared symbols of perseverance and achievement. When people think about the channel's biggest accomplishments, these projects are often the first examples that come to mind. Selling the cars could feel like closing a chapter that many viewers still feel emotionally attached to. Relationships are often more valuable than money, especially when they are built through years of hard work and shared experiences. The Bugatti project strengthened Matt's relationships with family, friends, collaborators, and viewers around the world. Those connections cannot be measured on a balance sheet or estimated through market prices. They exist because of the journey itself. That is why discussions about the future of these cars should never focus only on financial value. The Bugattis represent people, memories, trust, and teamwork. In many ways, those things may be the strongest reason of all for keeping them. The cars are reminders of relationships that help shape one of the most remarkable automotive stories ever told on YouTube.